Hello everyone and welcome to another video. You already know what's happening. This is the August reading wrap up and I'm gonna put this down because they're very heavy. In the month of August, I have managed to read 14 books and in this video I'm gonna tell you everything about them. This is going to be in chronological order, so from the first book that I read in the month of August until the last one. Let's start with the first book that I read in August, which is a graphic novel. The glare is not... okay, I think you can see it. This is the Tea Dragon Tapestry. This is the third and final installment of the Tea Dragon trilogy. This is just so heartwarming and nice. It is mostly about Greta and Minette. We got to meet Minette in the first book and she's this quite mysterious character. We don't really know much about her, and in this book we finally learn more about Minette. Also, Greta tries to become a blacksmith just as her mother, and she's trying to overcome this challenge that the master blacksmith is giving her to accept her into being his apprentice. So this is very cozy, very sweet. The art style is absolutely amazing. I will try to show you the chapter illustrations, and this is the illustration for the beginning of the book. Just look at him, it's so cute. But yeah, if you're looking for a cozy read, or something that doesn't require that much brain power, you just wanna look at something cozy and enjoy the story, I highly recommend The Tea Dragon Tapestry by Katie O'Neill. Next up, I have read The Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. I have a full vlog on my thoughts and opinions on the series as an overall, just to give you an idea what this series is about. In the Shepherd King duology, we are following Elspeth Spindle as she is struggling to hide the fact that she was infected with magic when she was a kid. And in this world of the Shepherd King, everyone who's infected with magic or by magic is executed right away, because magic always takes a toll on the body of the person that's using it, and sooner or later they just go crazy or die from exhaustion. Our main character Elspeth had the infection when she was a kid, but she doesn't seem to have any type of magic abilities, so we're just following her as she is trying to survive basically. It is very atmospheric. I will recommend this one for fall. If you like gothic, moodier, eerier books, I feel like you would really enjoy the story in the One Dark Window and the Two Twisted Crowns book series. The second one is my absolute favorite. The first one was good as well, but the second one just does some things that I absolutely love. Obviously, I can't really talk about this one and what happens and why I like it, because it would be a spoiler for the first book. This is the Shepherd King duology. Highly recommend. Now we're going to talk about the books that I read for my reading almost every yellow book that I have on my physical TBR video. I started reading yellow books with this one, which is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This is a very well-known story. I will not talk that much about it. I didn't remember this being quite as sad as it is, and I feel like me reading it now with my adult mind, whatever that means, I could appreciate it so much more. In this one, we are following Gregor Samsa, who wakes up one day and he's a cockroach. He's transformed into a cockroach, and all of a sudden he cannot provide for his family, and we are following these events that just wreck him apart. Yeah, I have it in this really pretty cloth-bound collection from Penguin. This is Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. If you watched my reading every yellow book video, you are probably sick of me talking about this book. This one was such a joy to read. We are following Sam and Luke, who are 28 and 27 respectively, and Sam is staying in London for the summer. She falls in love with Luke, or I guess they fall in love with each other, and we are following them both together and separately. Sam has to go back in Stockholm after the summer is over, and we are following their situationship over the summer, but also the events after that. This is not a romance book. This is not a love story. This is a story about love, about two people falling in love. If you really enjoyed watching the 500 Days of Summer movie with Zooey Deschanel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, this book will be for you. Jenny Mustard's writing feels so cinematic, and even if the plot of this book is not similar to 500 Days of Summer, I just feel like it portrays the same feelings and emotions of what it means to just like fall in love and trying to explore who you are in your late 20s. Also, if you don't typically enjoy Sally Rooney, maybe this is not for you. For the same Yellow Books video, I have read The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This is a sapphic romantasy between... Actually, no, because that would be a spoiler. This is a romantasy, so meaning romance and fantasy book about this honey witch who all of a sudden has to go back to the island where her grandmother resides because the magic and the island are in danger. If you enjoy just like cozy fall reads, this is one of those. If you enjoyed The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana or The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, this gave me similar overall vibes. This one and The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches have in common the fact that our main character is a witch, but the worlds are very different. This is very cozy, whimsical. You can tell from the cover. I feel like they did a great job just portraying the overall vibe of the book. This is The Honey Witch. For the same Yellow Book video, I have read Café con Lychee by Emery Lee. This was not for me. This is supposed to be like a romance between two high school boys, and my main issue with this book was the characters. One of the characters felt very annoying. He's very rude and just mean to everyone around him. And then the other one kind of has this internal struggle with his sexuality, and we're supposed to root for them, but I just didn't buy it. They didn't seem to have any chemistry throughout the book. Also, the other characters feel like they're there just to advance the plot or to give to the main characters a very convenient solution for what they're struggling with. The parents just are very lazy and they don't really do much. They don't communicate well, and all of a sudden at the end of the book everything's well. What I can appreciate about it is the diversity of culture, of sexualities and stuff like that, but just no, this was not great in my opinion. Again, Yellow Books for the Yellow Book video. This is Dottie by Emma Cline. This is a short story collection, and I don't really know what would be the thing that connects these stories other than maybe the power dynamics between men and women and between parents and their children. These stories are very sharp, very cinematic. Reading these stories, you feel like you're watching through people's windows and you see these vignettes from their lives. This is Dottie by Emma Cline. I promise you this is the last Yellow Book for this video. This is The Cat Who Saved Books by Susuke Natsukawa. This is one of those like cozy books. It's a book, about the love of reading and about the love of books. I agree that it's cozy and it's just heartwarming, but I don't know if it goes beyond that. There are certain like impactful moments throughout the story. It just feels like it's somewhere lost in translation for me personally. I would recommend you read this one if you're curious about it, but just maybe manage your expectations before going into this one. Now looking back at it, it just didn't make an impact on me. This is The Cat Who Saved Books by Suzuki Natsukawa. A book that did make an impact on me this month is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This book was so good. I honestly did not expect to like this one as much as I did. The premise for this one is very interesting, and maybe I should read you what it says on the back because I just don't want to spoil you very much. I feel like it's better if you go into this one just knowing that it is a lit-ficky, thriller, horror-y kind of horror, not horror. I feel like I'm saying horror like whore. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna read you the back. Also, this image on the back is very revealing for what's happening in this book. On the back it says, Ziwon's life is in disarray. Her father's affair has ripped her family to shreds, leaving her to piece their crappy lives back together. So, when her mother's obnoxious new white boyfriend enters the scene, bragging about his flawed knowledge of Korean culture, Jiwon's hold over her emotions strains. As he gawks at her and her sister around their claustrophobic apartment, Jiwon becomes more and more obsessed with his brilliant blue eyeballs. As her fixation and rage grow, Jiwon decides that she must do the one thing that will save her family and also curb her cravings. Basically, what happens, at least at the beginning of the book, as it says on the back, their family life falls apart. Her dad is leaving their mom for this other woman, and her mom is very distraught. We are exploring also their mom's childhood trauma and what it was to grow up in Korea at that time. The mother's backstory is very emotional in the beginning, and it just gives you chills what she had to go through to survive those very trying times. So when her husband leaves her, she is very distraught. She blames it on herself, basically, that she was not good enough for him. And she goes back to this Korean and also Chinese tradition, I think, that says that eating the eyes of the fish will bring you good luck. Basically, if you have like a guest over and you're serving fish, you will offer the head of the fish to the guest because it's supposed to be a good luck omen. Throughout their family dinners, as the mom is left alone with her two girls, she starts eating the eyes of the fish, and she's also offering them to her daughters. At the beginning, they are repulsed by the idea of eating the eyes of the fish. But then Ziwon, who's the older daughter, I think she's like 18 or 19 when the book starts. One day she's like, yeah, mom, I will eat the eye. And this is kind of the starting point for what's happening later. This is for the unhinged girlies. This is very deranged, I think would be the best word. Deranged and unhinged. The eyes are the best part. Talking about unhinged and deranged characters, Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kirsten Miller. Is it Kirsten? I don't know if I'm pronouncing the author's name correctly. I'm sorry for that. This book is about basically what happens in a small southern town when certain problematic books are banned. This is a satire, and I feel like you should go into this book knowing and thinking that this is a satire, because otherwise it can get a bit convoluted, let's say. What I loved about this book is the fact that we are following so many people from this small town as they're trying to navigate this problem that arises. Our main characters are Beverly Underwood and Lula Dean, and they are arch nemesis even from their high school years. Later on in the book, it is revealed what are the despicable things that Lula Dean did and supported throughout all of her life. And it just makes you hate her even more, because in the beginning of the book, we don't really know that much about her other than the fact that she is banning all of these problematic, pornographic, books that are just books about very broad topics, but also that can shape, a young mind. And just to give you an idea on the books that are banned in the world of this book, you have Beloved by Toni Morrison, you have The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, you have Mouse by Art Spiegelman, Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and some other ones as well. I know at some point Giovanni's Room was mentioned. I was listening to this on audiobook at times, and I feel like if you want to pick up the audiobook, you should also have the physical version, just because there are so many characters that we are following in this book that it can get a bit confusing if you're just listening to the audio, or at least this was my experience. But also I was listening to the audiobook on 2x speed, so do with that information what you will. I really liked the premise of this book. As I said, I would have wanted less topics and to go in further detail for each of them, because definitely we were rushing to get to the end of this book, and I feel like it could have been paced a little bit better. But other than that, this is a very thought-provoking read, and I feel like it makes you question a lot of the things that we know. Also, if you want a fun drinking game, take a shot every single time the word botblog is used throughout this book. This is Lilden's little library of banned books. Next up, I have read This Fatal Kiss by Alicia Jasinska. This is not out yet. It will come out on September 24. This is an ARC, and it was provided by NetGalley, so thank you so much to NetGalley and to the publishers for allowing me to read this. This Fatal Kiss is a Slavic folk tale inspired by Slavic stories, by Slavic mythology, and it is also a polyamorous romantasy. I've never read a book quite like this before. I really liked the creatures that we got to meet and the whole lore about the Slavic folklore. The setting of it felt very dreamy and whimsical. We are set in this small spa town, and we are following Gisela, who is a water nymph. In the world of this book, water nymphs are women that died a very tragic death near a body of water, and she doesn't really remember how she died. She just tries to get back to being alive, being a human, because she wants to care for her little brother and because she misses her family. We are just following her as she tries to become alive again, even though the plot was quite predictable and you can kind of tell what was going to happen. I really appreciated the characters and the setting that we were in. I don't think I read that many stories about water creatures, so that was a plus as well. One thing that I was a bit about is the dialogue between the characters, because the dialogue is very modern. I just felt like the setting didn't really quite match with the dialogue and the inner thoughts of the characters. Also, the ending is very open, and I assume that a sequel is going to come out sometime next year, potentially. I didn't see anything on Goodreads saying that this is part of a series or a duology, but based on the ending alone, I think this is what's going to happen. If you like books that are inspired from fairy tales, if you love folk tales and mythical creatures and all of that jazz, maybe give this one a go. This was This Fatal Kiss by Alicia Jasinska. We're almost done. This is the second to last book that I read in August. Babel by R.F. Kuang. This has been the longest on my physical TBR. I bought this book last year. This is the first physical book that I bought in 2023. I am so happy that I finally read this book. I go more in detail on my thoughts on this in the reading vlog that I did for it. This is technically it's a fantasy. It's like a dark academia setting, but this reads very much like a historical fiction in the best way possible. In Babel, we are following Robin Swift, who is taken away from Canton after his mom died, and he is being taught and tutored on all of these different languages, Greek and Latin, and he can speak English very well, so that one day he can go to Oxford's Translation Institute, Babel. In this world, we also have a very interesting magic system. They use these silver bars to perform their magic, although it's described as being more like alchemy, I guess. There are so many topics that are explored in this book. We're dealing with colonialism, with the English Empire, and how they try to enrich their country during that time. This takes place in the 1830s, but also about the opium problem that was going on in China at that time. I highly recommend this one. I want to read the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang because I keep postponing it. I know it's sad and heartbreaking, and this one was as well. Now I'm even more intrigued to pick up that trilogy because I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang at the beginning of the year and I absolutely loved it. I read Babel now, and even though I was heartbroken when I finished this, it's honestly one of the best fantasy books that I read this year. So I'm very excited to finally get into the Poppy War, hopefully by the end of the year. And last but not least, I have read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I had a preconceived notion before going into this, and granted I didn't know anything about the story, I just knew that this book was the prequel and it tells Coriolanus Snow's story. Because of that, I thought that she's going to make us sympathize or empathize with Snow, and that's not what's happening in this book. Even from the very beginning, in the way Snow is describing Tigress, we know that he's rotten to the core from the very beginning. There are no redeeming qualities, and throughout the book, he just is very lucky, I guess. He doesn't go out of his way to do certain things. He's just there, he has the opportunity and he takes it. But other than that, he's very passive in a way. There are a lot of discussions about philosophy and who we are as human beings, if we are intrinsically good or bad, or if our environment is shaping us to become who we are. It's very well done. Suzanne Collins definitely knows what she's doing. This was again a surprise for this month because I didn't expect to be done in this way. We get a lot of hints and nudges at the original trilogy, at what Katniss represents for Snow and why he goes ballistic on her, because what happens in the original trilogy, we don't really understand why Snow is doing the things that he's doing. After reading this book, it makes so much sense why he hates Katniss so much. Alright, so that being said, this is the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider liking or subscribing. It helps me out a lot. I have a very exciting reading vlog in the works. Hopefully that will come out soon. And until next time, bye everyone. Whoop. Bye everyone.